Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Today, I'm joined by one of the probably the most inspirational people I've had on the show. It's mouth artist, motivational speaker, and author Henry Fraser. Welcome to the Waffle Shop.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Honestly, it's a pleasure. And I need to go because obviously I get very giddy when I do this kind of thing, especially with people who I find like very inspirational. But there's a lot of kind of your journey and kind of like your outlook on life that have a lot of similarities to my own, which obviously we'll dive into. So obviously
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's an exciting one. I'm looking forward to this one. But
Me too.
before,
Me too.
but before we get into it, I start each one of my shows with something called the weekly waffle, which is something myself and my guest get off our chest in the hope that it makes us feel better. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's just very petty and very, but it makes us feel better. But one thing that's been winding me up this week is like the embarrassment of kind of either saying hello to someone or waving or someone who isn't quite the person that you thought they were. And it's you have that horrible cringe moment of like, I've just really embarrassed myself.
Yeah, that's never, yeah, it's a faux pas I hope to never experience.
Yeah, it's just so like, oh, and it's like you feel like you've known them before, but like no, never met them before in my life, and like, ah, okay, and then your face goes bright red, and it's, but yeah, that's what's bothered me this week.
Nice. Mine is, what would mine be? Geez, this week. Things that I guess the petty things that do annoy me sometimes when I spend ages planning to paint something
Yeah,
and I spend ages looking at colors and pictures and images. And in my head, I've kind of like, I've nailed this. It's going to be great. As
yeah,
soon as I start, I know it's wrong. And I know I'm just going to power my way through and just keep going until the end. But even though I know I'm not going to like it come the end, but I'm just, well, I'm not very good at finishing something. And
yeah.
no, not finishing stuff, so that, yeah. And then I just get annoyed with myself. And then it's just, I just like sit there for 10 minutes, just staring at the paintings going, why? Why did I commit? I could have done something so much more practical with my time than just do something that I'm just going to regret for the next 2 days.
To be fair, though, that's quite because I'm amazing. One take from that is like the thing that annoys you the most is like your own willpower and your strength at times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I much prefer getting annoyed at myself than other people.
That's I
Just it
wish I
seems
could
easier
say
for
the
some
same.
reason. I
I
can,
wish I could say that.
I can have better arguments with myself. It's fine.
Oh, I do that. Do you ever do that in the mirror?
Not yet.
Oh,
Am I starting now then?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Just
Oh,
planted
that's
that
fine.
seed.
No, it's an insight.
It's like I'm the problem with this. um, but yeah, no. Obviously, one of the reasons why I wanted to have a waffle with you, I kind of was made aware of like your journey and kind of how like it all started and stuff when a very similar thing happened to my mom. So my mom is now in a neurological care home, kind of going through extensive rehab to basically find out how to use her hands and speak and all this kind of stuff. And one of your kind of like your paintings, which I saw online, and I kind of took inspiration from, and I showed my mom. And I was just like, anything is kind of possible. Like with what
Thank
happened,
you.
obviously in the kind of like pushing through it, it's like, and I do
Mm,
kind of want to thank you that because it's kind of there's been conversations that I've had with mom that I have referred back to, like not to kind of make an example of of you, but I've kind of shown like you've kind of, I say it a lot on the show, but like you can do anything in this life, but like the one thing you can't do is give up. And I think if
mm.
there was a face to kind of go with that saying, like I believe like yours would be right there next to it.
Oh, thank you. No, it means a lot that you yeah, you use that like some of my stuff to help your mum
Definitely.
in a way. And yeah, and if it's yeah, if it makes any slight bit of difference, then well, thank you.
No, I really appreciate it. I kind of want to obviously jump kind of back a little bit into like your journey and how this
Mm,
started. Obviously, if you feel comfortable talking about that, because obviously you were a young lad, like on holiday, and when this event happened, like what happened basically for our listeners?
So I was only 17 at the time, which is now pretty much 13 and a half years ago now for me. And yeah, I mean, yeah, lots happened in that moment. Yeah, but it was we are just on holiday as a group of lads after our AS exams.
Yeah.
You know, it was my first time abroad alone without parents or family. This was, you
Wow.
know, just lads holiday away. You know, it's like, this is
Yeah.
great, it's fantastic. Um, you know, we got down there. It was in the Algarve, south coast of Portugal.
Mm.
So it was boiling hot weather, blue skies, amazing sea, you know, incredible nights out. And on the fifth day of a holiday, you know, I did something I'd done my whole life. I'd done previous days at holiday, and I just
Yeah.
ran into the sea to what I thought was a good depth, dived forward, and hit my head on what was probably a sandbank or something that was there that I didn't see. And I opened my eyes, expecting to get up to, you know, go walk back to the beach, start planning on nights out, with a night out with my mates.
Yeah.
You know, the usual things that we had done all the other days we've been there. But this time I opened my eyes still, and I was still in the water. I was just there, floating, looking through this crystal clear water where I could see the seabed. You know, I could just kind of turn my eyes side to side and look and just see nothing.
Yeah.
And I was just frozen. My body had frozen. I was just unable to move anything. So I was just, yeah, swearing, panicking. Can't tell you how many times I swore in that moment.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, it was just a crazy, what was probably only a few seconds, but felt like forever in that moment. You know, there was a point where I suddenly thought, oh, you know, this is it. This could be
yeah.
it for me. Luckily, a couple of mates were close by and managed to turn my head to one side slightly because I could see them walking in the water next to me. And they asked if I was okay, and I managed to just about get a bit of my mouth out to say no.
Yeah.
They just dragged me from the beach, dragged me from the water onto the beach. Eventually, an ambulance was called, and I was taken to a field somewhere, then airlifted to Lisbon. So
Wow.
right in the middle of Portugal, and then I was just away from everyone at that point. Was rushed to X-ray neck and back. It turns out I dislocated my fourth vertebrae, so that had slid out of place basically. And as it slid, I'd just taken the spinal cord with it and just severely crushed um, all the nerves and everything there. So that caused the paralysis. So I spent 2 weeks and 3 weeks in Portugal,
Yeah.
2.5, 3. And yeah, that was a pretty crazy time. Some pretty insane illnesses and some mega surgeries to realign my neck. And then I was back in England, and then spent the next 6 months in hospital in England, just trying to work hard and get out of hospital and get home and
Yeah.
live my life again.
Firstly, obviously, thank you for sharing that. And second of all, like I I admire and respect so like I have so much admiration and respect, sorry, for people who go through these kind of life-changing events and come out the other side of it, I guess, with this kind of determination and that kind of fight to be like, I'm not going to kind of allow this to kind of define me. Was there moments with that you kind of not necessarily doubted it? Because obviously, I imagine until you're in that situation, you don't know. But was there moments of like fear or anxiety that you're like, oh, like what is happening?
I mean, early on, definitely, especially in Portugal, it's pretty helter skelter time there, and I was just on so many meds because
Yeah.
I had pneumonia, I had MRSA, septicemia, I had body temperatures of 40,
Wow.
41 degrees. Everything was just pretty haywire. There's quite a few touch and go moments, and I had to have a pacemaker fitted because my heart actually hit zero a few times. And, you know, it was a pretty, yeah, that was all pretty crazy. Luckily, the
Intense.
meds kind
Yeah.
of, I guess, took my mind elsewhere at times, which
Yeah.
probably helped. But yeah, I don't know, I guess when I came back to England, I always had this kind of constant seed of denial in my head when I was in hospital until I was put into a wheelchair for the first time. But up until that moment, I always had this thing in the back of my head that I can look back now and see that it was yeah, definitely a seed of denial that just sat there that, you know, I was in my head, I was going, oh, this is, you know, everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna get up and walk out of this place. There's,
Yeah.
you know, all these things. And then it wasn't until I was put into a chair for the first time that suddenly everything just hit me and hit me like a ton of bricks and completely knocked me sideways. Um, and yeah, it was just an um, incredibly emotional day that, I mean, one I'll never forget.
Yeah.
But it was one that, come the end of it, was one I needed. I needed that kind of reality check, I guess,
Yeah.
to say, you know, this is the situation. This is what I have to deal with. This is my future, and I can't change that. And you know, I didn't accept what happened to me at that point, but it gave me,
Yeah.
it kind of set me on the, I guess, few steps forward on the um, journey of acceptance.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, huge, and it was horrible, and the emotions were all over the shop, and that was probably the toughest day I've had in my life. But
Yeah.
yeah, desperately needed it.
Do you know, I find that very interesting. Again, obviously, thank you for sharing. But my mom said something very similar about the day she got like kind of like hoisted into like the wheelchair for the first time. She often talks about it now being like the kind of the defining day of
Mm.
like what happens next. It was kind of like she kind of explained it as like it was like a bad dream. It was all a bad dream,
Mm.
and then but it was like that was the moment she kind of woke up and
Mm.
was like, okay, this is how serious this situation actually is.
Yeah, and I think we all, you know, whenever we go through situations, we need that moment, that realization that, you know, we are sometimes in situations that we don't like, or
Yeah,
that we try and kind of push to one side in our heads that we try not to deal with. Um, but we need that, sometimes need that kick of being like, this is it,
yeah,
this is what's happening, deal with it.
yeah. How do you navigate that then? Because it's you know it's a very very difficult thing to do. Like regardless of who you are, where you're from in the world, like to kind of push through those, I guess, negative moments, the limited beliefs, like that fear. How did you get through that?
For me, I just, that day I kind of really changed my mindset, and it kind of flipped a switch in me to look at things that differently, approach everything I was doing at the moment with a different mindset,
Yeah,
with a different view. Um, and for me, it was, I was still ventilated at the time,
yeah,
not all day, every day, but I was. Oh no, I was still ventilated. Yes, so I was still ventilated. So what I did was I started to set goals.
yeah,
I asked how long it'd be till I, well, I knew how long it'd be till I was going to leave hospital. What the time frame they'd given me was 18 months.
yeah,
Um, so then I spoke to physios and doctors and said, what do I need to do to be able to leave hospital? And they said, okay, I need to get to the rehab ward. So I said, okay, what do I need to get to the rehab ward? They said, ideally, you need to be breathing independently. So I said, okay, brilliant. Spoke to my physio. My breathing physio is helping me with my lungs and chest and all this
yeah.
stuff. And, you know, we worked backwards from, so what was an 18-month end goal reduced down to 5 minutes the next day.
Wow.
And that was breathing independently without the ventilator. And then 10 minutes following day, 15 after that, 20, half hour, 45 minutes, hour. We just kept building, 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 building. And, you know, on my focus, I never once thought about getting out of hospital at that point. After a few days in, my focus was just on those moments. You know, five,
Yeah,
10 minutes in a day is nothing. It's a blink of an eye. But everything I was doing, everything I was giving was in that moment. So I was just focusing, and then it allowed me to focus on other things I was doing and being in the moment and focusing and not worrying about when the end might come or when I might leave hospital, because, you know, things are going to happen along the way, things are going to change.
yeah,
And, you know, those goals were great. And I always knew those goals I'd be able to hit. They were targets I knew were achievable. But knowing that and understanding that and celebrating them every time I did it with my friends, with my family, you know, saying, oh, I did this today, I did that. And it's good for them as well. It's good for them to see me progressing and getting better
yeah.
and my mindset changing. Um, so that was it. And then, yeah, I just felt great. along the way doing that. And if there was one day I wasn't feeling very well and I didn't make any progress, I would just look back at all the countless number of steps before that I'd made
Yeah.
progress. And we never recognize progress in our lives when it's so small, but I don't know why. Progress is progress, no matter
Yeah.
what. It's moving forward. It's being doing better. It's doing something that you've not done before, and it's great. And what was 18 months goal? I was out of hospital in 6.
That's incredible. Yeah, honestly, to be fair, I think you're actually right. You kind of spun my head a little bit then with the whole kind of progress is progress thing. It's like those little kind of 5 minutes here, like that were like a blink in the eye, kind to some
Mm,
people, like actually kind of was that tiny little stepping stone or even milestone, I guess, to
yeah.
that end goal, which I don't think a lot of us give ourselves credit for.
No, it's not. We always think progress is some big goal that we have to hit or
Yeah,
achieve. Whether it's like, I don't know, a work promotion or something like that. But it's not. That's just the end goal.
yeah,
There's so many steps that go into an end goal before that people just ignore and just
yeah.
think the end goal is the progress, but it's not. It's every single step you take along the way to get there.
No, it's incredibly powerful to be fair, and it's really again, I go on to not to use the inspiring word to hear someone with that mindset of having the power of looking back and just appreciating how far you've actually come. Because I imagine, and I'm obviously I'm kind of relating this a lot to like my mom. So obviously, apologies if I'm kind of putting words into your mouth
Oh,
and stuff like that.
that's fine.
but I have to, I feel kind of like reassure my mom sometimes of not necessarily what the alternative could have been or like what could be, but kind of because I imagine a lot of anger kind of creeps in a little bit, especially I've seen it kind of firsthand with my mom of like, why
Mm.
has this happened? Like, why is this happening to me? Kind of thing. And it's kind of, I guess those moments kind of help you kind of navigate that a little bit to be like, well, it could have been bad. It could have been worse. It could, but it's like, look how far you have come. And it's, I don't know where I was going with that, but
No,
it's
that's fine.
just,
I try not to ever. I never, maybe early on, but I never. I don't think I've kind of went that way in my head because
yeah,
I decided not to think about, what, yeah, or what could have been or what might have happened.
yeah,
Because I wanted my focus is just on here, on now,
yeah,
and that is it. There is nothing else in my life, what I'm doing that I'm not. I'm gonna worry about. I'm not gonna worry about the future because I don't know what's happening. I'm not gonna dwell on the past because that's just going to drag me back and not let me progress forward. Um, you know, we're talking. People always talk about people always want a better future and building a positive future, and it's not so much about having kind of big things in the future to look forward to. It's about putting into practice all the things now, like training your mind, um, all little things now, each and every day, so that in the future, when negative situations happen or something happens that you need to deal with, you're in the right frame of mind to deal with it immediately, get on and continue being happy and living your life. That's what a positive future is for me.
yeah.
And yeah, the past, yeah, past is gone. Yeah, I don't.
No, I appreciate that. Can't wait to play at this now and be like, look, we need to
Yeah.
look forward. Stop looking back. We need to look forward. But to be fair, like I think regardless of who you are, like I think people can learn a lot from that mentality of like we need to
Mm,
look forward. Like we can't change what's happened. Like we need to kind of just keep going.
yeah, I mean, I used to be the complete opposite before my
Yeah.
accident. I used to dwell on everything that went wrong, and it would make me very. I used to get pretty anxious at
Yeah.
well most things really. Um, and I worry, and I'd think about the mistakes I've made, and it would bug me and just bring my mindset and my mood down. So I've had to completely kind of reverse how I've lived the first 17
Yeah.
years of my life, and yeah, I mean, I feel much better for it.
No, and do you know what I find incredible as well? Is the fact that you're now using those tools that you've developed to help you and kind of sharing those skills and the mindset to help others. Like your book, like the power in you, I feel like I read at the right moment I was supposed to read it, because in
Mm.
there it just gives a whole new like perspective on things. Just to be like, again, I think the power's in the title. Like, I don't think people realize like how powerful they actually are.
No, no, not at all. Everyone thinks it takes a um, you know,
Yeah,
um, an extreme situation or a trauma or something to unlock this in us. It doesn't. It sits there. You just have to
yeah,
kind of dig deep to get it out and understand that it isn't us. And
yeah,
I 100% agree. And it's how I actually finish all my talks by saying just that, that, you know, this, what I've done, what I've been through, how I've changed isn't, you know, it's not unique to me or a
yeah,
handful of people. It is in all of us to be able to do this. And, you know, I genuinely do believe that. And I think people just need that, need confidence in themselves, need patience with them.
yeah,
Patience is the key to all of this, to everything I've been through. Um, because it doesn't happen overnight at
yeah,
all. I had that day in the chair that gave me that kickstart, but I'd say it took me a full 13 months before I'd
wow,
fully accepted what had happened to me. So, you know, that was 13 months of, you know, a lot of, I guess, mindset training, a lot of trauma at the start, you know, a lot of learning a completely and totally new way of life.
yeah,
And, you know, it was tough. It was required a huge amount of hard work and, you know, determination to keep going. But those 13 months for, you know, the rest of a life of being happy and content is, yeah, no brainer really.
yeah. No, it's incredible. But was there a moment when it comes to like came to like the books and things like that that like was there something that like I guess like a turning point in your journey to be like, okay, this has happened to me. Now I want to help others. So obviously you do the like the motivational, like the talks, like you've got the books. Like, what was the driving force behind that?
I mean, the books were just someone approached me and said, "Have I thought about sharing my story?"
Yeah,
And I just thought, well, with this new mindset of trying stuff and at least giving things a
definitely.
go, I thought,
Yeah,
why not? Why not give it a go? I wasn't expecting anything to really come of it. I just went in and let them kind of put everything together and do all the nitty gritty bits, and then I was offered a book deal, and I was like, okay, well, oh, this is actually this is a real thing, is it? So then I had to write a book. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was not something I'd ever planned to do in my life, not something it probably would have been an extremely low down list of things I thought I'd envisioned for my future. But yeah, it was great. The reaction to the first one especially was
it's
yeah, it was quite
incredible.
something. Um, yeah, I'm because when I write, whenever I do these things, I always try and be as open and as honest as I possibly can be.
Yeah,
I don't want to sugarcoat anything. I don't want to lie about anything. I just want to say this is, you know, this is it. This is me. This is how I've dealt with stuff. This is what I've been through.
yeah,
And you know, if people want to take something from it, fine. If it don't, it don't. It's you know, we all deal with these things differently in our lives. Hopefully, it gives people you know a slight maybe framework to help them, and then they can find their own ways of you know adapting and
yeah,
do what they're going through. But the thing after everything I've done, or kind of been very fortunate to do some pretty cool things since my
yeah,
accidents. I've been extremely lucky and privileged that after my first book came out and people read it, I'd get people emailing me from everywhere saying that they've read the book and then just telling me their stories, their life
yeah.
stories of trauma and whatever, the loss of a child, a divorce, or someone
Wow.
been in an accident or whatever. And most people they sent these emails without wanting a reply, they just felt like they could share
Yeah,
and let go. And lots of them, it's the first time they'd ever shared with anyone how they were feeling.
yeah,
Um, and for me, that was um, yeah, wildly privileged position to be in that they felt they could turn to me, a complete and total stranger in their lives.
yeah,
But I think that's for me the most kind of, I think, powerful thing that's come out of that, of my first book was that, and it was the fact people felt that they could share and open. Hopefully, it'll help them in their lives and moving forward. And yeah, it's been pretty incredible to experience that.
No, it is, and honestly, you deserve every bit of praise and stuff like that comes from this because it's one thing that I kind of felt where, especially one from reading your book, and then even now just talking to you, like I feel like you create a safe space. Like I feel very like even though it's weird because it's like it's my show kind of thing, but like I feel very comfortable talking to you. So, and I feel like with your kind of your outlook and the way that you have dealt with things, like I said, like regardless what you're going through, having that kind of being kind to yourself mindset and like the determination and kind of more than anything, the patience with yourself, it can take you to anywhere that you want it to be, regardless of your situation.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It's yeah, you just got to kind of keep pushing, and pushing, and pushing, and
Mhm.
yeah, it takes a lot of effort and it's exhausting, but it's worth it.
Worth it. Definitely. So I talk about a lot on the show about like coping mechanisms and like whether it's like music for me or like Lego is a big one for me because it takes me out of the
Nice.
moment. It makes me very, very present.
Mm.
Obviously, you're an incredible artist now. Like, was there moments like in say like in your childhood growing up, like you think like, oh, I'm going to be an artist, I'm going to be an author, I'm going to be a motivational, I'm going to be a bestseller. But what out
Um,
like how did the painting start?
well, I did really enjoy painting when I was young. That was probably the only thing that
Yeah.
I'm doing now that actually maybe I did entertain. I always wanted to be an architect when I was young. Um,
Right,
I
okay.
loved I loved Lego and Duplo when I was a boy, and I would just build houses, like
Big fan.
countless houses. Um, and then I just always, yeah, I always just loved drawing. I loved making stuff. I was more making stuff I enjoyed when I was younger,
Yeah.
kind of physical things. But then as I grew older, I studied GCSE and AS level, but I hated it at that point. Really
Yeah.
hated it. I really wish I didn't do it for AS level. Looking back, um, because it required a huge amount of time,
Yeah.
and also my rugby was going well at the time as well, so I was having to commit time to that training and being in the gym and things. And it was hard for me to balance. I wasn't good at balancing the two,
Yeah.
and I preferred being outside or being in the gym rather than stuck in an art classroom.
Mm.
And yeah, art became this annoying, really annoying part of my life. And I grew to kind of really resent it in a way. And then I had my accident, and I thought, never, I didn't even think about art again.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember seeing in the hospital, Stoke Mandeville Hospital, there were some paintings by mouth artists. Um, Someone in my family said, "Oh, you should give that a go," and I just said,
Yeah.
"No, too lazy for that." Um, Whereas now it's pretty much my life.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it wasn't until 2015 that I was stuck in bed with a sore on my back, a consequence of spinal cord injuries, lack
Yeah.
of blood flow or health drops or whatever. So I was stuck in bed, not really doing anything. And then when I was able to eventually sit up, put some cushions on my lap, iPad on those cushions, and tapes. I was using an iPad just with a stylus taped into a mouse stick, so I could message and do things on my iPad.
Yeah.
So I found a really basic drawing app that I could use, and yeah, that's just how it started. They were extremely kind of basic linear drawings with how I started. And then when I was able to get out of bed, I started drawing pencils. And then a month and a half, 2 months later after that, I started actually painting. And then it all just kind of kicked off from there.
Yeah.
And now it's, yeah, I've been doing it now for, gosh, 8 years, pretty much. So yeah, it's kind of been a pretty wild time with it. But I mean, I love it. It's great for me. I can just be at my easel by myself,
Yeah.
listening to an audiobook and just paint for 2-3 hours at a time and just chill and not think about anything else or do anything else. It's just me painting. And then
It kind
the
of
other end of it,
forces you to be in the moment, doesn't it? It
mm,
like you're not thinking about anything else other than what's in front of you.
definitely. And I guess it's my comfort zone is being at my easel. It's my happy place. And then the other side of my life is public speaking. And I'm suddenly in a room with a few hundred people or something sharing my story, and it's that pushes me and challenges me, and
Yeah.
doing things like this where I'm having to think on the spot and answer questions, you know, and do something that historically I wasn't very comfortable with.
Yeah.
That I've grown to learn to be better at it, which is good. It's given me again, yeah, I would never have done this stuff without my accident. I wouldn't have the confidence I do now without my accident. That's forced me to share my story and be in front of people and do these things and be out there. So it's great to have that balance of comfort zone and ease, or step out every now and then to
Yeah.
challenge myself. And people always, comfort zones get a bad rep. But we all need one. We all need that place where we can kind of
Agreed.
retreat to, whether it's painting for me or me be watching, don't know, something I've watched 1,000 times, like Family Guy or something.
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great. It's absolutely fantastic.
It
I like the
always
way they
reminds me
go.
of bedtime though.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Like,
I do
one
watch it
episode
before
in, out
I watch
cold.
it before I go to bed, before I go to sleep.
Same.
Nice.
That's
Um,
brilliant.
yeah, so it's great. I mean, yeah, comfort zones, everyone needs that place where they can step into. And yeah, every now and then step outside, challenge yourself, but
Yeah.
there's no problem being comfortable and happy. It's not a bad thing. We don't always have to be kind of all constantly pushing ourselves to do more, to be better. I think kind of society and stuff always expects us to be doing more and more and more,
Yeah.
when it's good to have times to relax and rest and reflect and do nothing sometimes.
No, I agree. And I'm a big believer in like even boredom. Like it gets
Mm,
such a bad rep. Like there is something incredibly powerful in being bored and just not doing anything.
mm. So I've learned that rest is as vital to life as anything I do.
100%. Yeah.
It's up there. We can't all be going full on all the time. It's
Yeah.
exhausting physically, mentally. It's just exhausting. We need time to just shut off and do nothing. And it's actually kind of helped me do more and be better at what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I mean, when I do after I've rested, because I'm not getting tired. I'm not getting bored of what I'm doing. It's just I'll paint, and then if it's not going quite right, I'll go do something else. Or if I've painted for a while and I'm close to the end, I won't paint the next day because I'll be a bit tired. So I'll wait till
Yeah.
the following week, and then I go back and I feel like when I go back into it, I'm happy again. I can enjoy it. I'm not
Recharged.
tired. Yeah. Everyone needs it. Everyone needs to rest, rest, rest.
Oh, I love that. I feel like I'm going to listen to this back and be like, yeah, listen to what he's saying again. So one of the things I ask every person that I come on who comes onto the show, because music for me has kind of been the one recurring theme that has been there for me for the good, the bad, the ugly, what you name it, there's been like a song for it. I'm very intrigued with you. I mean, Tive, you mentioned like audiobooks. Um, but if there was a song that kind of was the, I guess, soundtrack, like your journey so far, is there
Wow,
one, or is that too difficult? I feel like I've just kind of
that's
thrown a
that's
grenade in and just
that's 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 a bomb. That's not a grenade, bloody hell. um, no, I mean, wow, yeah. To be honest, I've never thought about it. My music taste is varied, to say the least.
yeah,
I don't know. We'll circle back to that one. I think I'll
yeah.
see.
Go back to that one.
I'll see if there's some. If something pops up, I'll let you know. I think.
Yeah. Is there a song that you hear and like it instantly puts a smile on your face?
Um, I mean, there
I feel
must
like
be
I'm throwing
something.
bombs left, right, and center now.
Yeah, I don't know. Just any good sing along song, like the
Yeah,
crap. I mean, I like a good crappy song to when I'm cooking to kind of have one in the background.
yeah,
Anything like that, because any song like that is, some early noughties, or like that pop rock era
yes,
of Blink-182 and Sum 41 and all that
yes.
lot, and Good Charlotte, that kind of era. I love that. Love those guys growing up. So I mean,
I had
any one of
Ritas
them, I'm
on the
happy.
show last week.
I'm sorry.
I had Wheatus on the show
Oh,
last
what?
week.
That's a what? That's a bad. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, that
Teenage
would be up
Dirtbag.
there as one of the big boys. Yeah,
I felt
man.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was very
jeez.
like the inner child in me was like screaming. Because
Yeah,
then
I'm not
he
surprised.
pulled out his guitar and started singing it. And I was like, oh
Uh,
God, okay, this is a moment. This
that is. I mean, screw having me on. Get them back.
just every week. Just
Yeah,
waffling with Ritas.
yeah,
Part 37.
yeah.
I love that. Is there like moments? Because obviously I know with obviously like the artwork and stuff, and obviously you've kind of now, you've got the attention of some very big kind of influential people, like, with like the likes of Fern Cotton, J.K. Rowling. Is there a moment now, like I know you say like you don't kind of like to look back, but there must be kind of a sense of pride with like, I've done this. Like, do you feel that? And do you allow yourself to kind of feel that emotion?
To be honest, no, not really. I'm kind of pretty quick to move on from stuff.
Yeah,
I'm normally when something happens that if something happens that's good, I'll enjoy it
yeah,
and love it and make the most of it. But then start, be in the next moment and then the next and the next. Yeah, it's not really. The thing I'd say, um, the only thing I look back on and I go, okay, you know, I'm chuffed with myself. I've done that.
yeah,
Is the public speaking.
yeah,
Um, because that terrified me more than anything else in the world before my accident, and in fact after for a few years. um, because I couldn't even I couldn't talk in front of people. I wasn't very good. I was good socially with my mates and stuff, but
yeah.
meeting new people or whatever, conversation I could just kill a conversation in about 5 seconds
Yeah.
because I just wouldn't talk. Whereas now I am, taking over your podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can't shut you
Yeah,
up. Like, you
I
can't
know.
like start my job.
Yeah, if 16-year-old me could look now and be like, what the hell's going on? Is this some like
Who is
parallel
this?
universe of um but yeah, it was. And then when I was given the opportunity to do it, share my story, I thought, why not? I'm gonna go for it. And it's the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah,
Because before, I remember GCSE English, past that, we had to give a presentation to class. And our classes were uh, 16, 18 people, not
yeah,
huge. But I couldn't. And I remember the week it was happening. And I played rugby the weekend before,
hmm,
and I had my face kicked in pretty bad. I came into school, I had kind of bruises and cuts and everything all over my face. And I kind of swerved the teacher's eye all week until it came to Friday where I knew I'd have to stand up in front of the class
yeah.
and give my presentation. And I feigned a delayed concussion from the weekend before. So
Wow.
then I went and sat in the sanatorium, lay down there. So I missed the English lesson. But then I also thought, to make this look convincing, I need to stay here for the following lesson as well. So I was laid in bed in the sanatorium for about an hour and a half, just doing nothing,
Yeah.
just to get out of it. So I just couldn't do it. Couldn't bring myself to.
Wow.
Eventually, I didn't even do it because the teacher forgot and the deadline was over.
Yeah.
So I think it was half term the week after or something. And I was chuffed I didn't do it. I was so happy, even though I knew it would affect my mark.
Yeah.
I just work harder in the other bits, but I'm not doing that. So when I first had the opportunity to talk, I'm first talk I gave sharing my story to Saracens Rugby Club, and my brother was playing at the time, and the week before. I agreed to do the talk it was an April talk, and I'd agreed to do it back in October.
Yeah.
When October 2013, I'd agreed. So I had 6 months until April 2014 to write it, plan it, do whatever. And in my head, I kind of agreed to it because I thought something's going to pop up along the way that will derail this, and I
Yeah.
won't have to do it. Until it got to the week before, and I probably wasn't a great person to be around that week. I
Yeah.
was I was so nervous. I was just on edge the whole time. I was just reading the talk every day, just all day, every day, just over and over, reading it, trying to memorize a half-hour talk. I don't know why I was memorizing. I'd have my laptop whenever I give talks with my whole script on.
Professional.
Oh no, God, it was too excessive that. And sitting in lunch before the talk, my teeth were just I was so nervous, my teeth were chattering.
Wow.
Like I was all over the shop emotionally, like anxiety wise, until the moment I started. And the CEO of Saracens at the time, at the start of my talk, no, the guy I worked with, the psychologist at Saracens, he helped me kind of bring out the right messages from my talk, from everything I'd written before,
Yeah.
to reduce down to, which bits am I going to keep, which aren't I? He wrote at the start of my talk, he was like, this, when I have it, I read it every time I give a talk as well. I was having quotes saying the talk is not about you, it's for them. And the talk's not over till you've left the building. And those two things I take with me to every talk I give. And then the CEO of Saracens at the time said, he said, no one's come out of talk saying someone spoke too slow. As long as they can hear you and understand you,
Yeah.
they'll be fine. Just don't rush it. And those things I just have carried with me to every talk I've given since then. So the moment I started talking, it was slow. The talk I give now is probably about 27 minutes. I
Yeah.
barely changed it, but I think that one was at least kind of 5 minutes longer because I was talking so slowly. But I was able to kind of say what I wanted to say what I needed to say. And the moment I finished, I just had this rush, this kind of surge of adrenaline and excitement that I'd never felt before, ever, I think, in my life. And I was just thinking, this is like, what is this feeling? This is amazing. This is
Yeah.
great. Or what, why haven't I done this before? Why haven't I done stuff? Why haven't I? And that kind of then forced me to, when opportunities come my way, if there's something that, normally I'd be uncomfortable with or I never thought I'd do is, why not,
Yeah.
just agree, well, not kind of confirm to do it, but say, yeah, why not give it a go, see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it's fine. That's the thing, it's just scaring me more than anything else. When I kind of went in, especially things like sport, was just failing. I hated failing,
Yeah.
but I hated it to the point where I wouldn't work hard to stop it failing.
Yeah.
I would rather not do it than do it and fail. And that was the mindset I just took into everything before my accident.
Yeah.
Which not the best starting point.
No, not at all.
Whereas
I
now it's
really
the
relate to that
opposite.
bit.
Yeah, but now it's the opposite. Every situation I go to, I'm trying to think, okay, so what could happen under this? What might change? What might I get from it? Which is it's again, if I hadn't agreed to that first talk, if I hadn't had my accident, I probably would be still in my old mindset, dwelling
Yeah.
away on the past and worrying too much about things that I can't control.
That is powerful, mate. Like I was literally lost in everything that you just said. Just like this
Thank
is
you.
exactly kind of like I think it's what people need to hear. Because I think we're in this kind of generation where we do dwell on the bad, and there's stories like yours, like the waffle shop wouldn't exist if everything hadn't happened to my mom, and it's
Mm.
like it's just proof that so much good can still be like achieved. Like there is good that
Yeah.
can come from those bad situations that I don't think people like to see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I just think people are so used to it just in day-to-day life of just so well, one thing I say a lot to people is in our lives we are surrounded by countless joyful, happy moments.
Yeah.
We just think happiness has to be at a certain level that's very high that we have to achieve, whether it's buying something new or doing something. Happiness isn't. Happiness is joy is the smallest things that make you feel good. For me, it's a cup of tea. It's looking outside. It's and seeing nature, having the sun on my face like it is right now.
Yeah.
These things make me extremely happy. And when you're able to look around and recognize that and understand that, suddenly you realize, oh, actually, all these things that are everywhere. This is, happiness and joyful moments surround us each and every day. But because they are so plentiful, we just become totally numb to them.
Yeah.
We don't feel them anymore. And that's when something negative happens, it kind of hits us and we feel it. we really feel it because the negative moments are so few and far between that they're rare for us to have to really actually deal with and experience. But if you're able to recognize the joy and happiness in the smallest things, suddenly those negative moments don't hit as hard. You're able to kind of realize them and deal with them and accept what's happened and move on. And again, it takes time and patience, but that's kind of how I live every day of my life now.
And to be honest, I think I can't think of a better way to live it, to be fair. Like that it's not often that I'm lost for words, Henry, on my own show. But you've kind of, yeah, you've smashed this. Like I'm genuinely
Cheers.
feel very, very lucky that I've had to have this waffle with you today, because there is so much that I'm going to take away from this now and actually apply to my own life. Like, if anything, you've kind of reassured me that, okay, you've got to keep going. So
Mm.
thank you so much.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you.
I feel like I don't want it to end.